Welcome to Lease Talk Africa, powered by Velocity Global Leasing, where leasing knowledge meets African opportunity. I am Dr. Roslyn, your host, and today we are building on our second episode. My main goal today, listeners, is to help you understand the difference between leasing and traditional loans and how eventually to position leasing as a smarter growth tool for businesses that need equipment. Let's jump in. Last time, we asked why mature markets have embraced leasing and what Africa can learn from them. Today, we simplify one of the biggest questions in the market. What is the real difference between leasing and a loan? And why does that difference matter for businesses? Because many businesses do not fail because they lack ambition. They struggle because they lack access to the equipment that can help them grow. So, what is the simple difference, or where is the difference? Let's start with the basics. A traditional loan says, here is money, go buy the asset. A lease says, here is access to the asset. Use it to generate income. That may sound like a small difference, but it changes everything from the way the credit officer looks at that transaction and the mindset behind the business owner. With a loan, the focus is usually on the borrower's balance sheet, collateral, repayment capacity, and credit history. With leasing, the asset itself becomes central to the transaction. The asset is not just something being financed. It is part of the security, it is part of the business case, it is part of the repayment logic. That is why leasing can be powerful in markets where many entrepreneurs and SMEs do not have enough traditional collateral, but they do have productive opportunities. You get that? They do have productive opportunities. They have customers, they have demand, they have ambition, but they lack the equipment. Leasing helps bridge that gap. Why ownership can slow growth? In many African markets, ownership carries emotional weight. People want to say, this machine is mine, this truck is mine, this equipment belongs to my business. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with ownership. But in business, the most important question is not always, do I own it? The better question is it helping me generate income? Because if a business uses all its cash to buy one machine, well, it might own the asset, but lose the flexibility to operate. It may not have enough cash left for fuel, staff, insurance, marketing, maintenance, working capital, or unexpected delays. So the asset is sitting there, but the business is under pressure. Leasing gives the business room to breathe. It allows a company to use the equipment while preserving cash for operations. And in business, cash flow is oxygen. You can have the assets and still struggle. But if you have productive assets and a healthy cash flow, you can grow. So let's go back to the maturity of thinking that is there in the developed markets or that is there with international companies or multinationals. Why is it that the multinationals lease, they do not own their assets? Why is it that they are not keen on having these assets in their balance sheet? What is it that they know that small business operators do not know? This is one thing mature markets understand very well. They do not look at leasing as a sign that a company cannot afford to buy. They look at leasing as a strategic decision. A logistics company may lease vehicles so it can upgrade the fleet regularly. A hospital may lease medical equipment so it can access modern technology without waiting years to raise full capital. A manufacturer may lease machinery so it can scale production and match payments with revenue. While a technology company may lease equipment because ownership is not the point, productivity is. That is the shift Africa must embrace. Leasing is not for businesses that are weak. Leasing is for businesses that are strategic. That's why governments are leasing. Big corporations lease their assets. It is for businesses that understand that access, speed, flexibility, and cash preservation can sometimes be more powerful than ownership. So, where do loans make sense and where do leasing make sense? Now, let's be balanced. Loans are not bad. Loans have their place. A loan may make sense when the business needs general working capital, inventory finance, expansion capital, or funding that is not tied to one specific asset. But leasing makes more sense when the need is clearly linked to equipment. For example, a farmer needs a tractor. A hospital needs diagnostic equipment. A contractor needs an excavator. A transporter needs trucks. A factory needs production machinery. A school needs buses or IT equipment. In these cases, the equipment itself is the growth tool. Okay? So the equipment is actually the growth tool for this business. So then the question becomes, can the asset generate enough income or value to support the lease payments? This is where proper lease structuring comes in. And this is why leasing professionals must understand more than just credit. They must understand the asset, the customer, the cash flow, the useful life, the market, the risks, and the exit options. That is why separate basic financing from intelligent leasing. So the mistake that many businesses make or find themselves in is looking only at their monthly payment. They ask, how much do I pay every month? But that is not enough. A smarter leasing conversation asks, what income will this equipment generate? How quickly will it pay for itself? What happens if the asset breaks down? And the next episode, we'll be looking at uptime, and we'll have a special guest for that. Who maintains it? What is the residual value at the end? Can it be upgraded? Can it be repossessed and resold if necessary? Is the lease term aligned with the productive life of the asset? These are the questions that protect both the customer and the financier. And this is exactly where leasing becomes a skill. When done poorly, leasing can become expensive and risky. When done well, it becomes a growth engine. Why this matters for African businesses? It matters deeply because we have millions of businesses that need productive assets. They do not just need money, they need tools. Tools to farm, tools to manufacture, tools to transport, tools to diagnose patients, tools to build roads, and tools to produce, serve, and employ. If leasing is understood and structured well, it can help unlock that access. It will help banks grow new portfolios. It can help equipment dealers sell more. It can help SMEs expand without exhausting cash. It can help governments support productivity. It can help young entrepreneurs build without waiting until they can buy everything up front. This is why leasing is more than a financial product. It is a development tool. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to our upcoming masterclass on May 15th. Here's the most important part. Understanding leasing is the first step. But the real power comes when you know how to structure it properly. So what are we going to be looking at in this masterclass? How do you price the lease? How do you protect margins? How do you assess risk for the credit officers? What do you look at? How do you evaluate the asset? How do you structure payments around cash flow? What guidelines should you be looking at? How do you work with dealers and vendors? And how do you build a leasing product that is profitable, practical, and scalable? We will be covering this in the upcoming Profitable Equipment Leasing Masterclass. It is a practical 2-hour session that is designed for bankers, asset finance professionals, equipment dealers, SMEs, and business leaders who want to understand leasing, not just as a concept, but as a real business tool. We will cover margins in details, deal structuring, risk compliance, and deal flow. Most importantly, you will leave with practical templates and frameworks that you can actually use, not PDFs, tools that will help you structure your deals properly, tools that will help you check out on your rate of return, tools that will help you check on the blind spots that most businesses are actually prone to. So keep an eye for the masterclass, and I look forward to joining you then. In the next episode, we will be having a guest who will join us, and he's going to speak into leasing and how it's done in mature markets here in Africa. Allow me not to reveal that. That is something that we will disclose when we have the guest in there with us. And he's going to get into details about availability and uptime and the impact that has on businesses. So here's my invitation. If today's episode has helped you see leasing differently, then the masterclass will help you apply it. I will share the link in our next episode where you can actually get in and register. The investment is $97 for 2 hours, and we have limited seats. We only have access to 25 seats. And if you know a banker, an SME owner, an equipment dealer, or a policymaker who still sees leasing as just another loan, share this episode with them, because Africa does not only need more capital. Africa needs smart access to productive assets, and leasing can help make that possible. This is Lease Talk, powered by Velocity Global Leasing. Check out our website, www.velocitygloballeasing.com. And until next time, remember this: ownership is powerful, but access can be transformational. See you then. Bye-bye.